Well, hello and welcome to our session. We are going to talk about achieving financial wellness. So I'm thankful for those of you who are able to join us live. In addition, they're going to record these different presentations, so you'll be able to watch this um, at within your own timing. So the good news is we're going to give you some information that will give you resources. If you have questions in the future, you'll know where to go and what to do to help you in achieving financial wellness. And of course, all of this is a part of the WestPath Benefits and Investment Program. My name is Catherine Prisk Martin, and I'm going to be here with you today. If you've ever sat through the Social Security and your retirement needs, you'll see some of that same information is a part of this session as well, because we have the steps for how to plan your retirement in here, but we add in some additional details. So even if you've seen those different presentations before, we have so much more information in this specific presentation that will help you in your planning process. So thank you again for joining us. And let's get started with the topic. And I'm with EY. I've been with EY going on, oh goodness, I've been going with EY going on over 10 years now. So I love to share this information and help people as they go through all of their planning to understand how to achieve financial wellness. So these are our workshop objectives. And we've got about 45 minutes here today. If you have any questions, put those in that Q&A box down there. I will look for that to see if you have any questions, and I'll tap into those and assist. But most importantly, if you do have questions, you can always call our EY resources. And I'm going to show you that number shortly, but you can call the EY Navigate Planner line, and they can help you with all of this information. So you don't have to address this information alone. So we'll be focusing on using your the financial planning process to accomplish your goals, know how to track and develop a plan to get on track for retirement, know how to use your WestPath benefits to achieve those financial goals, learn to use these tools and resources, and know what steps to take next. So let's get started with understanding some of your resources. So the resources are not just through the EY Navigate program. You have resources through WestPath, including the Benefits and Investments program. You have Benefits Access, and that's where you can tap into understanding your pension plan at benefitsaccess.org. There's also the Benefits and Investments Call Center for WestPath, and you can see that 800 number right there. In addition to all of these resources, you can also use your EY tools and resources. So it's not just this workshop that you're attending today or that you're watching on the replay. It's the ability to really get in there and start to do that planning process, whether you're talking to our planner line or you're using the resources on the digital website. I like to tell people that at EY, we are high tech and high touch. If you want to do it yourself, there's a lot of resources on the Navigate website. If you really want to get assistance from a financial professional, call the planner line. On average, 7 years of experience. Our planners are actually very well trained on your benefits at WestPath. They understand your benefits, they understand the housing allowance, and so on. They can help you understand the tax implications and overall implications of any of your financial decisions, completely confidential and really unbiased guidance, because we don't manage anybody's money. So there's our planner has nothing to gain by giving you one set of circumstances versus another. We're really trying to help you understand the pros and cons of any of your financial decisions. You can call as often as you want to, and we're open pretty long hours, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So the planner line is one of your resources. You can also use our EY website, which includes calculators, articles, tools, resources, short videos, 3 to 5 minutes. You can sign up for longer webinars that we have that are about 30 minutes. We do a topic every month, and we even have an app that you can download. You can reach our planner line by calling that number, by clicking through on the web, and by clicking through on the app. Either way, lots of ways to reach our team, and we do have regular webinars. And most importantly, we have all of our webinar topics on our EY Navigate digital website. They are available on demand. As a matter of fact, I've never actually attended a live webinar. I watch all of mine on demand. When they have a topic I'm interested in, I go in there and I watch it on demand. It's really great. You get all the information. You can even pause and have them back up and repeat the information that's on the slide. Kind of hard to have them do that when they're doing it live. And so that's all available through the resources that you have as a part of the WestPath program. So all of these resources, most importantly, are available to you at no charge. So absolutely free for you to be able to use these resources. So the website is one of them as well. And we've got a lot of information on the website. It's westpath.eynavigate.com. Tons of information and resources and articles, really a wealth of information. And you can download our app where you can use your smartphone or your tablet to access all those same resources right through an easy to use app. It's available both on your Android and on your Apple devices. So it's not one of those apps where it's only available on one or the other. It's available on both of those platforms. So we just encourage you to get started using them. They are all available to you at no charge. You do have to register to use the EY resources. And then don't forget, as we go through this, to make your own list of things to do. I just encourage you to do that because we have a lot of information and resources. And ideally, what you really want to do is you want to put it into action. So develop your own personal action plan. And give yourself a deadline so that you get started with whatever it is that you're working on, whether you're planning for retirement or you have any other specific goals. And we have talked about these different tools in some of our other courses. So if you've attended the other courses, you are already familiar with the concepts. But the whole planning process really starts with step one. And the step one is knowing exactly where you are today. You've got to know where you are today before you figure out what you want to do in the future. Where you are today starts with two financial reports or two financial statements you need to prepare. One is your net worth, and the next one is your cash flow. And we'll talk a little bit more about those two documents. And then from there, you're going to figure out where you want to be, and then ultimately, how do you get there? And we have resources on our website that can help you create these different financial documents. So we start with your net worth. Your net worth is basically a snapshot of where are you today. We are almost at September 30th, and the reason that's important is a lot of the financial plans are going to produce a report. They either do them at the end of the month or at the end of the quarter. You'll have those quarterly reports, which will make it easier to prepare your net worth statement. You're going to put together all of your assets, your personal assets, the value of your home, retirement accounts, any other outside investments, the value of your car, and so on, and then subtract out any of your debts, which would be your auto loan, if you have that, your mortgage, if you have any consumer debt. So you go ahead and you basically list out all those different things. Your personal resources, that's going to include your bank account, if you have CDs, if you've got investments, whatever it is that you have, it's looking at all those different things. And then you're looking at your assets compared to your debts. You're basically trying to get to the bottom line to see what's your net worth. So your net worth is kind of giving you an overall feeling of how are you doing. And if you look at this year over year, you should start to see it growing, particularly if you own a house and you've got the mortgage, you're paying down some on your mortgage, the value of your home may be growing. So you'll start to see that financial picture improving. And so that's what you're looking for. Also, your net worth is kind of a place where you can start to look at money you may have put aside for specific goals. So retirement, that's going to be my 403B. If I have outside IRAs and so on, that's where I'm sort of tracking what's going on with my retirement assets. So number one there is to put together that net worth statement. So if you haven't done that, I would put that on your list of things to do. You can even use our net worth calculator on the EY Navigate digital website. It only takes 2 minutes to register and start using your resources. So if you haven't done a net worth statement, I would encourage you to do that. And you can even work with one of our planners and they can do it for you. Also, you've got to know your cash flow or your budget. So you've got to track your ongoing expenses, and that's what you do with your cash flow. It's looking really at all of your ongoing expenses, whether it's for housing, utilities, insurance, your car, your insurance for that, your food, clothing, anything else. And you break this one down into the two great big categories, things I need to have, things that are nice to have, entertainment, vacation, hobbies, and so on are going to be over there in my discretionary expenses. So need to have, nice to have, figuring out where all of the money is going. And you can visit our EY Navigate Digital Planner, digital website, and use the Live by a Budget goal to analyze your spending. I would tell you one of the most important tools that you can create to help you achieve your financial goals is right here. It's a budget, it's a cash flow, it's whatever you want to call it. I started following a different financial person recently, and he calls it, and I love this term, he calls it your conscious spending plan, not a budget, your conscious spending plan. I choose to spend money in these categories because they're things that I value and where I want my money to go. So it's really tying back your spending to those things that you value. So I love that concept. Whatever you want to call it, get a handle on what those expenses are. I do track my expenses. I'm glad that I do. I have to tell you, the one area I need to improve is I really need to start tracking them monthly because I will track them. I'm usually at a 2.5 month mark, and I'm trying to figure out 2.5 months ago, why did I spend that amount of money? I'm up there looking at my calendar. Where was I? What was I doing? What category does that fall into? So I know if I did it monthly, it would be an easier thing to do. And I keep thinking one of these days I'm going to meet that goal. I really just need to write it down and get started doing that. So I'm going to work on that. You work on pulling together whichever reports or statements you need to. But ideally, this will really help you achieve your overall financial wellness. So I encourage you to do that. One of the things that you can look at too that can give you insight to your current financial position is your credit score. Each one of the agencies creates your credit score. So there's Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. They each go through their own calculation, and your credit score may be different with the different agencies. So don't worry if you realize that's going on. That's perfectly normal. The higher your score, the better a risk you are. And that would mean if I'm going to purchase something that's expensive, like a house or a car, and I need a loan, I'm going to get the best interest rates. When they talk about those promotions for well-qualified buyers, they're basically looking for you to have usually like 740 to 750 is considered a well-qualified buyer if you want to get the best deal. They do look at 5 categories, and we've got them in order of importance. Really, the most important things are at the bottom of the list. Payment history is number 1, amount you owe. When they look at amount you owe, they're looking at the amount you owe as a percentage, and they look at it in total, and they look at it by credit card. So if I have 5 credit cards, and let's say I'm spending 90% of the available credit on one credit card, I would actually get a better credit rating if I was spreading that same debt over more than one card, but using a lower percentage. So they look at it in total, 5 cards total, do the math on that, and then they look at it by card. So keep that in mind if you're trying to make a decision on potentially putting something on a credit card. Keep that in mind. The different things that they look at. And then you really want to find a free source to get these numbers. If you wanted to get it from Experian, Equifax, or TransUnion, they charge you for it. But there are credit sites that will give it to you for free. There's Credit Karma, Karma. There's Credit Sesame. You can get a free credit score from those sites. Plus, the banks and credit cards you hold today may offer the ability to get that credit score for free. One more thing on today's session for those of you who've tuned in live. If you have questions, we've got a Q&A box right there. Go ahead and put your questions in there. If I get some questions, I'll be happy to answer any questions. But keep in mind, if you have questions, or for those of you who are watching the replay, you're not out of luck. You can always call the planner line. They know all this information, and they're happy to help you with it. So you always have a place to go if you have questions on this information in the future. To get your free credit reports, you should get those. You used to be able to only get them once a year. You can actually get a free credit report once a week. They changed that during COVID, and it hasn't gone back yet. So get your credit reports, review those, because a lot of times there are mistakes and you can have those corrected. So visit annualcreditreport.com. If you go anywhere else and they say, oh, you got to pay a fee to get your credit report, close the browser. You're on the wrong page. annualcreditreport.com. You can get the reports for free from all three agencies. If you're married, you have one for you and one for your spouse. What I tend to do is I go on a regular basis. So I don't do a good job of following my expenses each month, but I do each quarter, or not actually quarterly, but like every 4 months, I go and I get one of the credit reports from two different agencies, one for me, one for my spouse. And I do that every 4 months, and I rotate them. So every year I'm looking at a credit report from each one of the three agencies for me and each one of the three agencies for my spouse, just making sure whatever's on there are those are debts. The other thing I do put things on credit card and I pay those off on a monthly basis, but I also am a big fan of credit card alerts. If I charge something, I get an alert almost immediately. I get a text message. I've got an Apple phone and an Apple Watch. My watch will bing. I'm standing there at the grocery store. I use my credit card and I immediately get a text message to say, hey, you just charged X number of dollars for your groceries. And yes, I did. So I watched that. And boy, oh boy, if I get a text and it wasn't me, I am on that so fast. That happened with my husband. He used his debit card for something online. Debit card. He did get that item as promised. And then all of a sudden, one day we get a charge. Now, meanwhile, he hasn't even gotten up. It's like 8 in the morning. He's kind of a slow person to get up in the morning. He really takes his time. I get a text message that he just spent $129 on his debit card. I'm like, I don't think so. I go in the other room. It's like, hey, did you just charge something for $129? He's like, no, it was a fraud. But the bank caught it really before he did. So I got the text message. He gets a text from the bank almost simultaneously saying, is this your charge? Because we've seen this company and it's sometimes reported as fraudulent. And he said no. So they never actually got the cash. So whatever you can do to monitor what's happening with your money is a good idea. So we start with where are we today? You got to do your cash flow. You got to do your net worth statement. Make sure you keep an eye on what's happening with your credit score. And then the big question is, where do you want to be? This to me is the fun one. This is the fun one. This is where do I want to be? What are my overall goals here? Maybe your goal is to go on some grand vacation, or it's saving for retirement, or it's taking a magnificent cruise, whatever it might be. You determine what your goals are. But what you want to do is create that picture of retirement or the next few years, however you're going to do it, and make sure you prioritize and keep a list of SMART goals. What makes them SMART? They are specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and time bound. So create your SMART goals. And the question, of course, is how do you get there? So let's focus now on retirement, because what you're trying to do here is make a financial plan and stick to it. Now, here's an important comment I want to make right here. You make a financial plan and stick to it, but the plan is not a one-time thing. All of a sudden it showed that my microphone was on mute. So hopefully you can hear me. Good. I see that it's working now. All right. Your goals may change, your circumstances may change. So it's a plan that you're going to put together, but it needs to be adjustable as circumstances change. So it's really important to understand that it's not this pretty little binder you put on a shelf and never look at it again. It's something you create and move forward with. So let's look at that retirement planning process and look at some of the steps that are going to go into it. We start with what are your goals? Then we're going to look at what will you need? What do you have? Is there a gap? If so, what should you do? And how can you stay on track? So let's start with your goals. When will you retire is a part of that. Where will you live and what will you do in retirement? So what we're doing here is creating day and how many years until retirement? How many years do you think you'll be retired? And what do you plan on doing with your time? So that's what we're trying to do, is kind of create this overall plan for the future, which really looks at everything. And if you want to get an idea of your life expectancy, we have a calculator on our website at EY, but my favorite calculator is this one right here. It's Living to100.com, livingto100.com. Don't download the app. I think you pay if you download the app. Just use the online calculator. It takes about 15 minutes to go through and answer. And I think it's like 40 questions. And you do have to put in your email address, but they're going to give you an idea of what your estimated life expectancy is. Now, I do work with an outside financial person. When they are doing the projections of how long my money lasts, they're trying to make sure my money will last until around 92. Now, I'm not sure I'm going to last until 92, but if my money lasts until 92, even if I don't, that's a good thing. So figure out overall kind of what your picture of retirement is, and what your timing is. And then you've got to determine what you'll need. So what are you going to need each year? How long will you live? We just looked at that a second ago. How is inflation going to impact you? And will you have any one-time expenses? And you've probably seen this chart. We've looked at this in some of our other presentations as well, but we're really trying to get to estimating our spending during retirement. But we start with our cash flow. So the first column is our cash flow. That next column says what's going to continue in retirement. Now, if you are clergy, you might actually have a lower replacement ratio because right now you're paying those SECA taxes and it's not 7.65, it's actually 15.2 because you pay both the employer and the employee portion. So 15.2, and then add in whatever percentage your savings are. You might have a lower replacement ratio if you no longer have earned income. So the key is first looking at what are you spending today and then doing that estimate into retirement. And that's where you can adjust this because you can adjust this cash flow however you want to. I have a separate line item for travel expenses separate from entertainment. So you can determine, do I want a separate travel item for that? I used to try and track my travel expenses by different categories, like how much was airfare versus how much was this, how much was that. And it's like, wait a minute, I've turned this into a job just trying to track these expenses. And so what? Overall, the trip costs X dollars. That's really all I need to know. And so I stopped doing all that extra work. But you start with your cash flow. So your action step here is to use your cash flow to help you estimate your retirement income needs. And we have a lot of articles and other tools that can help you on our website to kind of overall determine your replacement ratio or what your needs will be in retirement. Then we move on to what you will have. So let's take a look at what you'll have. You have employer benefits, personal resources, and Social Security. And earlier today, we did the session where we talk about Social Security, and we looked at Social Security in a lot more detail. So if you're interested in how the Social Security is calculated and more details on that specific program, those are covered in the Social Security and your retirement benefits workshop, and you can pull that up and look at a replay of that one as well. On this one, we also focus in on your overall WestPath benefits. So we've got different plans. There are DB plans, which stands for defined benefit plans, and there's also defined contribution plans. So if you're clergy, you may fall into more than one of these different plans. These are 100% funded by the church, and there's payment options for the different programs. So the bottom line, first of all, when you look at this, is figure out which of these programs you are a participant in, and then they have different payment options, and you are 100% vested in these programs. So you will receive these benefits based on how they do the different calculations. So we have the CRSP, that defined benefit plan. That's a monthly benefit, is the payment option on that particular benefit. For the defined contribution plan, there's a life stage retirement income, and you can do cash installments or a lump sum. So you have the choice of the retirement income, cash installments, or a lump sum. Then we have the MPP plans and ministerial, I think they stand for pension plans, ministerial pension plans. On those programs, 35% of the balance is the life stage retirement income, or it's a lump sum. And then 65% must be annuitized. It just means that it turns it into that monthly payment, which pays each and every month over the rest of your life. And then there's the pre-1982. That one is a monthly benefit. So one of the keys here any one of you, if you're doing this planning process, is to do a little bit of research. A lot of the information is going to be available through your WestPath resources, probably at benefitsaccess.org, is you can really go there and then get a better understanding of these different programs and how they work. So that's a good resource. And, you know, they do make changes to these different programs at different times. So they may implement a new one. My understanding is they might implement a new one this year. The current resources in Benefits Access are not yet programmed for anything they implement this year. So if they do implement the Compass program, which may be implemented this year, those benefitsaccess.org, those tools can't yet do those calculations, but they certainly can for all of the other programs that are in place at this time. So just keep that in mind. So maybe your next step is going to be follow up with those things and get a better understanding of what resources you might expect in retirement. It's a good feeling, actually, when you start to do this planning and you see, look, I have worked hard and I've done a lot of work within this organization, but there's definitely some rewards. So you may want to put down, use Benefits Access to obtain a projection of your retirement benefits. It's a pretty good feeling. And then also, don't forget about the UMPIP program. You want to make sure you're contributing at least 1% in order to get the 1% match that is going, and that match is not going into this one, it's going into the defined contribution on the CRSP program. So make sure you're getting your matching contribution. If you save on a pre-tax basis, you're going to reduce your current FICA taxes if you're a layperson, or SECA taxes if you are in the clergy. If you save into the Roth, you won't get any of that tax-free, but you'll get tax-free qualified distributions in the future. So if you wait a long time and that money grows and grows, when you get the money, you won't pay any taxes on the earnings. The best part about the UMPIP is your tax-deferred compounding. That money's growing tax-deferred. As far as investment control and responsibility, you can manage it yourself, or you can look at the Life Stage Investment Management that can assist you with that. You can even talk to our planner line about your investments and to understand what your options are and figure out what might work best for you. And as far as payment options, there's the Life Stage Retirement Income. You can also do cash installments, partial distributions, lump sums, or you can roll it over. When I say roll it over, it means roll it over to an outside individual retirement account where that money can continue to grow tax deferred. And most importantly, you get automatic savings through payroll deduction. You basically can pay yourself first. So it's a great idea to participate. And again, contribute at least 1% in order to receive the additional 1% in that other defined contribution program. Now, the PIP program, the UMPIP program, is really nice because it falls under the regulations for 401k and 403b rules, and it allows you to save quite a bit of money. The maximum contribution, if you are less than 50 this year, is $23,000. If you are 50 or older this year, you can contribute an additional $7,500 as a catch-up contribution. And there's also a special pre-tax plus Roth if you have more than 15 years as a participant in the 403b program of another $3,000 that can go into that particular program. So keep in mind the IRS has an overall maximum of all the money that can go into this program. This year's limit is limited to 69% of the overall 69% or 69%, 69,000, I'm sorry, $69,000 or 100% of your compensation is the most that can go in there. So there is an overall IRS maximum. Of course, at some point you need money to live on as well. So for most people, we're not able to put 100% of what we make into the savings plan. But just in case you're able to do that, keep that in mind. You do have some pretty high limits of what you can put in there. And you can always call the WestPath call center to determine if you're eligible to do that special 15-year plus years of service contribution. So as far as maximizing your contributions, don't miss out on employer money, put at least 1% in here. And then switch to Roth contributions. I would say switch to Roth contributions. In two cases, Roth make a better an answer. In some cases, if you can maintain or increase your contributions, you can usually contribute more if you're putting it on a pre-tax basis because you're saving on taxes. But if you realize you're going to be in a higher tax bracket in retirement, then it actually makes more sense for you to put more money into the Roth side. So keep that in mind. Pretty high contribution levels, which we already talked about. And then make sure you're using an appropriate asset allocation for your investor profile. And that's one thing I always suggest. If you don't know today what your investor profile is, be sure you figure out what that is. And you can do that by going onto the EY website or working with one of our planners to determine your investor profile and what a suggested asset allocation is for your investor profile. There's no one size fits all on this. So you can visit benefitsaccess.org to change your investment elections. You can visit the westpath.eynavigate.com. If you want to use the EY web sources, you can use, again, it only takes about 2 minutes to register and start using our website. Also, don't forget about any personal resources you may have. Do you have outside individual retirement accounts? Do you have any taxable accounts? Do you have previous employers' retirement plans? Does your spouse or partner have their own retirement assets and or a pension, or do you have equity in your personal residence? In all of these circumstances, when you do this type of planning, you just want to make sure that it's all in there. You'll have access to everything. And even if you don't, even if you participate in the Westpath plans, you can still put money into an outside IRA. The limit for an outside IRA, if you are less than 50, this year's limit, it's $7,000. If you are 50 or older this year, you can put $8,000 into an outside IRA. And then depending on your salary level, that will determine if you can put it into a Roth or into a traditional, or you can put some in both because they have both options. And most financial institutions do have individual retirement accounts. We also have, of course, Social Security. And Social Security, your benefits are based on your 35-year earnings history. They do your average indexed monthly wages to determine your benefits for Social Security. And then it depends on your age as to when you can collect. So this is my chart. It used to be everybody's full retirement age for Social Security. Everybody's full retirement age used to be age 65, but they changed that back in 1983 when some of us weren't paying attention. So now your age depends on the year you were born. So for those of you born in 1960 or later, your full age for retirement for Social Security for full benefits, your full age to get 100% is age 67. You can still get your benefits as early as age 62. You'll get 70%. And if you'll wait until 70, it grows 8% a year. So at age 70, you get 124%. So your benefits start at 70% at age 62. They go all the way up to 124% at age 70. You decide where do you want to step through, if you will, to get that money from Social Security. When do you want to go through that window to collect Social Security benefits? And a great way to research what you'll get on Social Security is to go to their website. You can log in here and sign up. And from there, you can even apply for benefits from Social Security. You go to ssa.gov. You can get your statement, review your earnings record, and estimate your benefits. They do all the estimates. You don't have to do the estimates. They do it all for you on the website. So I just encourage you to use those resources. And then you then kind of go back and look. So we've looked at what are your goals? What will you need? What will you have? And the big question, is there a gap? How do your goals and your income sources compare? So that's one of the things you'll need to look at. You can go in and use the retirement readiness tool. Now, those of you on the call, you might remember that they used to generate an annual report, but now they just have it as a tool and you can use it on demand. So it's pretty good. Go in there and you can put in your annual plan and put in some of your assumptions to be able to determine your retirement readiness. And you'll find that at benefitsaccess.org. So that's the retirement readiness tool. So that's a great way to get started in that planning process. Another one is on the EY Navigate digital website. Go to our My Goals and Finances and look for the plan for retirement goal. Same kind of information you're going to put in here. It's going to be your retirement age, the current savings percentage, what the balance that you have today in your savings accounts is, what you expect as far as any type of income and so on. You go ahead and you put in all those numbers. We're going to tell you how long will that money last. I will tell you that based on the chart I'm looking at right now, I know this money's not lasting as long as the person because the line's red. When you adjust your savings and your age and this other stuff and you get everything adjusted, if you get to a point where your money lasts as long as you're going to last or as long as you're hoping to last, it will turn green. So the planner line can help actually create reports as well. So just give them a call and they can assist you with that process. So use the Plan for Retirement Goal on the EY Navigate digital website to help getting on track for retirement, as well as using your retirement readiness tool that's at benefitsaccess.org. So definitely there's some resources that can help you. And if you have questions on any of these different tools and resources, make an appointment and talk to one of our planners. And again, you can talk to the same planner. If you and your spouse want to call and talk to the planner, you can do that. One of the things I love about our planner line is they can help you regardless of where the money is coming from. So even if you have money that is not a result of your relationship with Westpath, we can still factor that in as we're doing those calculations. And again, all of our planners, they have a number of years of experience. They are trained on your Westpath benefits, and it's completely confidential and objective guidance. So I do encourage you to use those resources. So are you on track? Is there a gap? And if so, what should you do? You can save more, you can work longer, you can plan on living on less in retirement, or you can use an alternative asset allocation tool for your investments. So those are just different things that you can consider using when you're talking about that. And while I'm talking about investments, let me just give you a little bit of information as far as investing on retirement. This chart right here, this is done by a group called Morningstar, and they're really into financial education. This is a hypothetical return starting in 1926 all the way through 2022 in understanding which investments have the greatest return. So if you are a moderate investor, your portfolio is probably going to be somewhere around 60% or 50% in stocks and the remaining amount in bonds and fixed income. So if I was going to be a 50-50 investor, I would actually fall somewhere near the middle and I would have about a 7 to 8% return if I'm a moderate investor. But this is basically showing you, here's what the market has done historically. So we started in 1926 and we look at what's the value of $1. The gray area is inflation. Inflation since 1926 through 2022 has been about 2.9%. I would need $17 in 2022. I actually need a little bit more in 2024 because inflation has impacted us. But in 2022, I'd need $17 to buy that same market basket of goods. Then we look to see how cash has done. For cash, we look at treasury bills, which are sold by the US government, and they mature in a year or less. The treasury bills have had a return through that time period of 3.2%. So I would be barely keeping pace with inflation. You can actually see there are periods of time where inflation was more than what I was making in cash historically. So you're not going to do much better if you just have it all in some type of cash instrument. Then we look at government bonds. That's my orange line right there. And historically, that average has been about 5.2%. So bonds pay less. They pay less because they are considered to be safer, because they are debt for the organization who's selling them, and they have to pay their debts before they pay their owners. And so bonds are considered safer. They have a lower return, and they have about a 5.2% is the historical return. And then you see a couple of my stock categories represented. We've got large stocks have had about average of 10.1%. Small stocks, about 11.8% over this period of time. If I was a moderate investor, again, I'm somewhere in the middle with about a 50% bond, 50% stock portfolio, bonds and cash, I would have an overall return of about 7 to 8% over this time frame. So that kind of gives you an idea. So when we talk about changing your asset allocation, if you're trying to fill that gap up, typically that means you'll get more aggressive in your asset allocation because stocks are going to pay higher. It's also a reminder that don't fall for schemes. If somebody's promising a very safe investment with a very high return And I don't even mean ridiculously high. Like if somebody tells me I can make 8% guaranteed on my money and never lose on my principal, I know one thing. That person, unfortunately, is lying to me. It's not possible to do. There are no investments today. I can't just put it in a bank account and get 8%. Like I can put it in a bank account and get 4%. So if somebody says you can put it, you can get a 4% return and be perfectly safe. Today, I can. I can tell you 10 years ago, I couldn't get a 4% return because that same online bank account was only paying 0.5%. It was paying a half a percent for my bank account, which was still way more than I was getting from my brick and mortar. So always be careful of understanding that the greater the expected return, the higher the risk you're taking with your money. It's just a reminder to be safe in that environment because for a lot of us, that's not what our main job was. Our main job was not dealing with finances and being a financial advisor. So you just want to protect yourself from people trying to take advantage of you. And then asset allocation, making sure you're putting money in different types of stocks, in bonds and cash and so on, is important for the following reason. We never really know what's going to be the biggest winner when we talk about investments. This is looking at the most recent 20 years ending in 2022. It's 2003 all the way through 2022. And you can see that I've got it all broken down by which asset class was the big winner. So just for a moment, let's look at 2008. 2008 was notable because we had an overall very negative year in the stock market. So if you look at 2008, you'll see that none of the stocks had a positive return. It was all negative. The only thing that had a positive return, that a big positive return, were bonds, because when bonds are up, stocks tend to be down. When stocks are up, bonds tend to be down as far as their return. People are going to move to whichever thing's going to pay them the most. Cash had a little bit of a return. But if I invested like that for 2008 and 2008, if I moved everything to bonds, look what happened in 2009. Well, in 2009, bonds had the worst return. They declined. Basically, the market kind of corrected itself and bonds went down 14.9%. So what we suggest is you have a combination of stocks and bonds out there, and that's going to protect you as you're investing. So I'm going to look at my international and then also look at a diversified portfolio to say at the beginning of 2003, I'll put $100 in each one of those investments. And here's the good news. At the end of that 20 years, I have more money regardless of what I chose, but I actually have what do I have? 7.12% is my return on my portfolio and 6.42% for the international portfolio over that period of time. So I have a better return if I put my money into my diversified portfolio. So that's something important to keep in mind. You do have some options when you're investing your UMPIP. If you use the Life Stage Investment Management, it's customized investment fund allocation using the Westpath investment options, and they automatically rebalance and reallocate. It is mandatory for that MPP plan and optional for some of the other plans to opt into this program, and it's available at no cost for you. It does cost, and you'll see a tiny little fine print down there. It does have costs, but they're a part of the Westpath operating expenses. So the plan is paying for that. You're not having to pay for that out of your money. And there's also a personal investment profile that can be developed on your behalf. So really our main action step when we look at this is visit westpath.org to learn more and or to sign up for that life stage investment management. So that's something you can do. And then most importantly, you want to make sure that you're staying on track. How can you stay on track? Well, you should implement that appropriate savings and investment plan, and then monitor your plan annually or if you have any changes. So any changes to your overall situation, you want to monitor what's happening. And our planner line can help a variety of ways. I kind of talked about it throughout this course today. You can reach our planner line. They're open 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Friday, and that's Eastern time. Call the planner line. You can also reach out to the planner line if you click on, there's a tab you can click on the website and on the app. So just figure out what 2 or 3 things you're going to do as a result of attending this course today. I really hope that you will get active and involved and set your plan up. If you would like to give us your feedback on our session today, all you need to do is send a text message, and the class number, today's workshop number, is 43789. So that's 43789. So that gets us to the end of this particular presentation. Again, if you have questions after, you can always go to our planner line. You can look at the tools on our website. So I just encourage you to do that. Get started with the planning process. We've got one more session that will be coming up in about 15 minutes. If you're available, we would love for you to tune in to talk about estate planning basics. For those of you who are watching this, you'll just look for the link. Each one of these workshops will be broken down into a separate link. So thank you for attending. Good luck in your planning process, and I hope you will check out the other resources you have. Thank you.